Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Haunters Playground, the place where people who love everything spooky and scary come to play. I'm your host, Christopher Abram. Today, we're going to continue our interview with Timothy Psycho Bates, and we also have to say farewell to our unpaid intern, Josh. Well, no, not because I gave him the double tap in last episode. And not because he's leaving because he found another job. Man, is he way underqualified to do anything. No, it's just that time of year again when every kid goes back to school. So, yep, gonna lose Josh during the day now. I have to find somebody new to do my laundry. Anyway, let's just go ahead and jump right back in with our interview with Psycho. Here we go. Yeah, and safety was always a very big concern with us. We had major throughput with our haunted houses. We even had a fire in one of our haunted houses where we evacuated, 4,000 people in under a minute?
They're about, yeah.
And that was, 20,000 square feet, right?
Yeah.
Two separate haunted houses and then a giant, all indoors. But that also gets into, I know a lot of people think, it's safe. You have to think from the patron side of being scared and not being able to see near as well as you, with possibly running in fear and not thinking intelligently. I mean, if you're really doing your job well and you're scaring people, they're going to be going ballistic. and so you have to think about safety. So, we've had people who had seizures from being scared. They didn't even get to the strobe lights. And so you need to be able to shut down your show, your actors. If they're not in masks, if they're in makeup, you need to have people around that there's a code word. So when there's those kind of issues, that someone who is not in a mask or makeup will come over and help that person.
That's actually a very good point, because I've witnessed that where people have run into walls or knocked themselves out, hyperventilate, and they're actually panicky, and the person in the mask and horror makeup cannot go up and say, "Hey, are you okay?" That intensifies that, because now they're standing hovering over them. You need someone who is not in scary makeup, costume, whatever, to respond to those types of situations. You don't need to traumatize them anymore with standing over them with a horror mask and, "Are you okay? Because now I'm going to kill you."
Yeah, we've gone through some of the biggest haunted houses in the country. Tim and I personally know quite a few operators of those, and when you pull them aside, they may be voted the scariest haunted house, in whatever state or in the country. When you pull them aside and you start talking about things, the number one thing you're going to find out from all the big boys is how much safety is involved, and people never know about it except the people that work there. And we always trained every single person, whether they were just there doing makeup or wardrobe, or they were zone
captains, or
we had so many
managers,
different names for them all, but everybody knew how to evacuate the haunted houses, where to take people once they were outside, who to notify. And I mean, safety is the number one issue. And, one of the things about Halloween is there's a lot of people that it's always, it's so dangerous. The last thing you want is being a pro hunter or a yard hunter and having a reputation of having a dangerous haunt. That's the bad kind of scary. You want the fun, enjoyable, everybody goes home, scared but laughing. Now, we've been talking about makeup. The first episode had Heather Henry on, who was on Face Off. And one of the things that we have done, but, not necessarily wanted to do, was makeup. When it comes to makeup, what have you learned is the is there a difference? Is there one that, oh yeah, this is super fast application, but cost effective, fast over money, or is there just, it kind of all balances out?
As I've learned, it really is by preference, because there are so many different type of products out there that it depends on how you're going to be using it into the haunt. A lot of masks are really good, because it is fast and quick, and you don't have to worry about the application and or running or dissolving off your face. But there's a lot of haunts out there that prefer the very detailed look of makeup, and depending on the preference of the makeup artist or what exactly they're going to be doing, you can see different types of makeups there with the oil-based or cream-based, and then the alcohol or water-based. Me personally, I prefer the water-based because it goes on so fast, and as long as you're not rubbing your face while you're sweating, then it usually stays, in place. But me personally, whenever I get into character, I usually do the god-awful redneck hillbilly cannibal guys. So if my makeup starts smearing and running, that's fine. It looks acceptable. It's not good for a clown to be, have his face melting off, because then you really can't tell it's a clown. It's just someone with a lot of drippy makeup on their face. So that's where you'd want to go into alcohol-based, or maybe even some cream-based. But it varies from haunted house to haunted house that I've gone to, that on what they prefer using, and it's what application it's going to be, what they're going to be doing as far as scaring and activity that's based off of.
Yeah, like when I talked with Heather, she was telling me that she was making some custom masks, and we worked with a guy, he's died now, he used to do the costumes for Guar, if you've ever heard of that band. Joe Riley used to make us custom masks in accordance with our theme. So if you're going to go with like a custom mask, and there are a lot of places that they may not have a lot of money, but they will invest that money in a custom mask, because here's the thing, you don't have to worry about if your actors look the same. If I was going to go and base a character that looked like Tim, it'd be better for me to, shave a dog's butt. No, it would be better for me to have his face cast and then hire people that can just put on a mask and look similar to him, rather than going and trying to find haunters, good scare people who look similar to you. So when I put the makeup on, because you're going to have, if you're a good haunt, you're going to have people, repeat customers. They're going to keep coming back, and they will notice all the little differences. We had that a lot with Hollyweird, where literally it was a year-round haunted house. We would have people who would come back several times a week, and they would tell us about which actors were good and which ones weren't, who was new, who wasn't. I mean, they were so into that haunted house. And so, we mostly use masks there. We would black out around the eyes. That's one thing that I see a lot of people mess up on. They just throw a mask on and they think, okay, it's ready. You really need to black out around the eyes. That way, when the mask goes on and you're seeing around the eyes, you're not seeing a different flesh color.
Right.
Also, it helps to tuck the mask in. Have a costume that the mask can be tucked in. Having the flesh that's cut around, that's hanging outside of a t-shirt, unless it's supposed to look like it's stitched in, like their skin is, hanging out, it looks bad. And, those are the little things that can take a good haunted house down a notch and take a great haunted house to just mediocre.
If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to mention also about the mask, especially with your example of the Hollyweird, that masks were a lifesaver for us, because we had several nights that we would have hundreds of people waiting in line and only 6 actors, and we were having to leapfrog from room to room, because in this haunted house we had 3 paid employees. Everything else was volunteers. Yes. And we had safety corridors between a central spine that was for tech services and for safety reasons to get in and out of each and every room. So on nights like this, we would have our 6 of us that one person would scare in the first room, and then as the group passed would hopscotch over to the third room, changing mask. And then the second, we would vice versa, play hopscotch through the whole haunted house. So having the mask was a real lifesaver for us on that, because we could just throw on, throw off, and that way the patrons, when they went through, they saw someone different, whereas they really saw us 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, we would have people coming out go, I can't believe you have so many people working in there. And it's like, how many people do you think work in there? And they're like, you got to have at least 30. And that would be one of those days when there was only 4, maybe 5 of us in there. But, you know, that was also one of those things where we had the theme led to a universal costume that everybody wore. So, you know, in that fact, you know, the switching the mask is what changed the entire character because everybody was in the same wardrobe. Oh man, is that interview long? We had to jump in just because there's so much more left and we only have so much time per episode. Why couldn't somebody in the crew have told me how long we were going with that interview? I mean, yeah, Psycho and I are friends, but come on, somebody could have said, hey, you know, you're going over 15 minutes. You said you didn't want to go over 15 minutes. Oh, I'm running long now. Well, thanks. Anyway, we have come to that point in our show where we're going to have to say goodbye for this episode. But first, I want to put out a little warm welcome for those of you who have just recently joined us. Of course, we're also only in our 3rd episode. But kind of the purpose we're here is to help haunters get to know each other, get to share ideas and do all that kind of stuff. And so that's what we're starting to call up for now. We've gotten quite a few subscribers, and I think we're ready to go ahead and stick our welcome sign out there and invite everybody in. So here's your opportunity, starting now, since we have around 60 days till Halloween and people are starting to get into that frantic mode. If you have some tips or ideas that you'd like to share, you can either post them down here in the comment section, or you could send us a brief video. You know, keep it about 30 seconds to 1 minute about some of the tips that you'd like to share with other haunters. That's really kind of the purpose of starting this whole show, was so all the haunters could get together and share tips, ideas, safety, concerns, and you know, whatnot with each other. So post them down here or send us a message and we will, you know, make some contact, and hopefully, if not in our next episode, in the episodes to follow. But can tell you this, we have been on kind of a 2-week every other Monday schedule with releasing the shows. When it comes to the month of October, we will have 1 episode per week, and possibly some supplemental videos that will be popping in during that time, as well as we're trying to gather some video of some home haunters and some pro haunt locations. So if you are in the North Texas area, which is where most of this filming takes place, we are going to be in other parts of the country as time goes on. But if you're in the North Texas area and you have a home haunt or a pro haunt and you'd like to share some of that, please let us know, and we would love to send a crew out and get some video. If not, you could send us some video and we'll edit it together, or send us some pictures. So that does it for this week's show. We will see you next time on the Haunter's Playground.